Good morning. Good morning, KS2. Good morning. Just going to close this door just 1 second. Good morning. Morning, Finley. Good morning, Camille. Superstar. Well done for joining. I'm not sure if you joined before. Morning, Noemi. Good morning, Harry. Well done, Finley. Good morning, Ava and Jack. Good morning, Chloe and Bethany. Hi, Belle. Super to see so many of you joining in. Morning, Nico. Good morning, Leon. Good morning, Fergus. Good morning, Tyler. I'm starting right now. So I'm starting in about 2 minutes. Just waiting for everyone to join and then we'll get started. Good morning, Athena. Good morning, Charlotte. Oh, so many of you joining this morning. Morning, Aoife. Good to see you. Good morning, Isra. Good morning, Eleonora. Good morning, Charlie. Oh, loads of you here today. Good morning, Jago. Good morning, David, superstar. You're all absolute superstars. Well done for joining, and you are on time to our 11 o'clock. I have a couple of deliveries coming today, and they're picking up my bike because I bought a bike, and it's too big. So they're coming to swap it. So I might have to go and deal with that in a bit, but hopefully not. Good morning, Aoife. Good morning, Louie. Great to see so many of you joining. Good morning, Sahara. Nice to see you joining. Right, we're going to get started with a poem. Okay, so we're going to start today's lesson with a poem. Let me choose one. Friends. And that's the picture. I'm going to read Friends to you. I fear it's very wrong of me, and yet I must admit, when someone offers friendship, I want the whole of it. I don't want everybody else to share my friends with me. At least I want one special one who indisputably likes me much more than all the rest, who's on my side, who never cares what others say, who lets me come and hide. Within his shadows, in his house, it doesn't matter where, who lets me simply be myself, who's always, always there. And that's by Elizabeth Jane. And that was our poem for today. Good morning. Not sure who that is, but good morning. Good morning, Miss Rabani. Yes, I'm starting now, Camille. So, I just did a poem. Right. Good morning, James and William. Superstars, well done for joining. Okay, we're going to get started. So, last time, Oscar, right, that's enough. We said good morning. I've said good morning to everyone, and we're going to get started, okay? Spent the first 5 minutes. It does sound like our normal day, though. I usually say good morning, and I would love to have a chat with all of you because that's what I usually do, but unfortunately, we can't. But it's so nice to see all of you watching and listening, okay? So we have been reading, Jake, for the people who have just joined us and hadn't joined us before, we have been reading James and the Giant Peach, okay? And we are now up to chapter 13. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to gibble gabble, yeah? So do you remember what gibble gabble is? To just quickly summarize what has happened in the book so far in 30 seconds. So you need to speak really fast and you need to get through exactly what's happened. For those who haven't been watching and don't have the book at home, I will quickly catch you up, okay? So there's a boy called James, and sadly his parents died. He has to go and live with his auntie with his two aunties, and they are horrible. They are so mean to him. Suddenly James bumps into a man who gives him a bag of, I hope that the rest of you are gibble gabbling, and I hope only people who are listening to me are actually only because they haven't read the story with us, okay? And he gives him a bag of, basically it's just full of magic, and James is ready to use it on himself and he's going to eat it, but then he falls and it drops into the soil and it goes into a peach tree, which is into the soil under the peach tree, which is very near his house. Suddenly the tree has a peach growing. It's never had a peach growing, and it suddenly has a peach growing, and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it is the size of nearly a house. Okay, so the aunties obviously see this, and they don't know that it's because of James that it's grown. So they, oh, this is very tricky going through this book so quickly. So they, hi, oh, hi, Kate, super. Well done. And then someone, Noemi, thank you for finishing it off for me. And now James has gone inside the peach and he has found huge insects. So he's found a group of huge insects. Let me show you the picture. So they've obviously had the magic in them as well, and they've grown into huge creatures. So you can see there, okay? And they've just said they're going to make the beds. So let's see what happens next. Let's start reading. If you're reading with me, we're on chapter 13, page 41. A few minutes later, Miss Spider had made the first bed. It was hanging from the ceiling, suspended by a rope of threads at either end, so that actually it looked more like a hammock than a bed. But it was a magnificent affair, and the stuff that it was made of shimmered like silk in the pale light. I do hope you'll find it comfortable, Miss Spider said to the old green grasshopper. I made it as soft and silky as I possibly could. I spun it with gossamer. That's a much better quality thread than the one I use for my own web. Thank you so much, my dear lady, the old green grasshopper said, climbing into the hammock. Ah, this is just what I needed. Good night, everybody, good night. Then Miss Spider spun the next hammock and the ladybird got in. After that, she spun a long one for the centipede and an even longer one for the earthworm. And how do you like your bed? She said to James when it came to his turn. Hard or soft? I like it soft, thank you very much, James answered. Okay, superstars, I'm just going to remind you on Instagram and on YouTube that this is for our lesson, so it's not for you to have a chat with your friends on the comments, because then I'll have to remove the comments for tomorrow. Okay, so it's for you to be listening and having a go at the activities that we have. Thank you, YouTube, you're being fantastic. Thank you, Instagrammers, you're being fantastic and you're doing really, really good listening. For goodness sake, stop staring round the room and get on with my boots, the centipede said. You and I are never going to get any sleep at this rate. And kindly line them up neatly in pairs as you take them off. Don't just throw them over your shoulder. James worked away frantically on the centipede's boots. Each one had laces that had to be untied and loosened before it could be pulled off. And to make matters worse, all the laces were tied up in the most terribly complicated knots that had to be unpicked with fingernails. It was just awful. It took about 2 hours, and by the time James had pulled off the last boot of all and had lined them up in a row on the floor, 21 pairs all together, the centipede was fast asleep. Wake up, said James, giving him a gently dig in the stomach. It's time for bed. Thank you, my dear child, the centipede said, opening his eyes. Then he got down off the and crawled into his hammock. James got into his own hammock, and oh, how soft and comfortable it was compared with the hard, bare boards that his aunts had always made him sleep upon at home. Lights out, said the room, wondering which of the others he might be talking to, but they were all asleep. The old green grasshopper was snoring loudly through his nose. The ladybird was making whistling noises as she breathed, and the earthworm was coiled up like a spring at one end of his hammock, wheezing and blowing through his open mouth. As for Miss Spider, she had made a lovely web for herself across one corner of the room, and James could see her crouching right in the very center of it, mumbling softly in her dreams. I said turn out the light, shouted the centipede angrily. Are you talking to me? James asked him. Of course, I'm not talking to you, you ass, the centipede answered. That crazy glowworm has gone to sleep with her light on. For the first time since entering the room, James glanced up at the ceiling, and there he saw a most extraordinary sight. something that looked like a gigantic fly without wings. It was at least 3 feet long, was standing upside down upon its 6 legs in the middle of the ceiling, and the tail end of his creature seemed to be literally on fire. A brilliant greenish light, as bright as the brightest electric bulb, was shining out of his tail and lighting up the whole room. "Is that a glowworm?" asked James, staring at the light. "It doesn't look like a worm of any sort to me." "Of course it's a glowworm," the centipede answers. "At least that's what she calls herself. Although actually you are quite right. She isn't a worm at all. Glowworms are never worms. They are simply lady fireflies without wings. Wake up, you lazy beast." But the glowworm didn't stir, so the centipede reached out of his hammock and picked up one of his boots from the floor. "Put out that wretched light," he shouted, hurling the boot up at the ceiling. The glowworm slowly opened one eye and stared at the centipede. "There is no need to be rude," she said coldly. "All in good time." So there you can see. Fergus, I'm not sure if your screen has frozen, but I have started a while ago now. "Come on, come on, come on," shouted the centipede, "or I'll put it out for you." "Oh, hello, James," the glowworm said, looking down and giving James a little wave and a smile. "I didn't see you come in." "Welcome, my dear boy, welcome, and good night." Then click, and out went the light. James Henry Trotter lay there in the darkness with his eyes wide open, listening to the strange sleeping noises that the creatures were making all around him, and wondering what on earth was going to happen to him in the morning. Already, he was beginning to like his new friends very much. They were not nearly as terrible as they looked. In fact, they weren't really terrible at all. They seemed extremely kind and helpful in spite of all the shouting and arguing that went on between them. "Good night, old green grasshopper," he whispered. "Good night, ladybird. Good night, Miss Spider." But before he could go through them all, he had fallen fast asleep. Oh, well done for helping me that word. "We're off." Someone was shouting. "We're off at last." James woke up with a jump and looked about him. The creatures were all out of their hammocks and moving excitedly around the room. Suddenly, the floor gave a great heave as though an earthquake were taking place. "Here we go," shouted the old green grasshopper, hopping up and down with excitement. "Hold on tight." "What's happening?" cried James, leaping out of his hammock. "What's going on?" The ladybird, who was obviously a kind and gentle creature, came over and stood beside him. "In case you don't know it," she said, "we're about to depart forever from the top of this ghastly hill that we've all been living on for so long. We're about to roll away inside this great, big, beautiful peach to a land of what?" asked James. "Never you mind," said the ladybird, "but nothing could be worse than this desolate hilltop and those 2 repulsive aunts of yours." What fantastic describing words. So desolate, remember that means empty, and repulsive aunts. Fantastic words. "Hear, hear," they all shouted. "Hear, hear." "You may not have noticed it," the ladybird went on, "but the whole garden, even before it reaches the steep edge of the hill, happens to be on a steep slope. And therefore, the only thing that has been stopping this peach from rolling away right from the beginning is the thick stem attaching it to the tree. Break the stem off, and off we go." "Watch it," cried Miss Spider as the room gave another violent lurch. "Here we go." "Not quite, not quite." "At this moment," continued the ladybird, "our centipede, who has a pair of jaws as sharp as razors, is up there on top of the peach, nibbling away at the stem. In fact, he must be nearly through it, as you can tell from the way we're lurching about. Would you like me to take you under the wing so that you won't fall over when we start rolling?" "That's very kind of you," said James, "but I think I'll be all right." Just then, the centipede stuck his grinning face through a hole in the ceiling and shouted, "I've done it! We're off! We're off!" the others cried. "We're off!" "The journey begins," shouted the centipede, "and who knows where it will end," muttered the earthworm. "If you have anything to do with it, it can only mean trouble." "Nonsense," said the ladybird. "We are about to visit the most marvelous places and see the most wonderful things. Isn't that so, centipede?" "There is no knowing what we shall see," cried the centipede. We may see a creature with 49 heads who lives in the desolate snow, and whenever he catches a cold, he has 49 noses to blow. We may see the venomous pink-spotted scrunch who can chew up a man with one bite. It likes to eat 5 of them roasted for lunch and 18 for its supper at night. We may see a dragon, and nobody knows that we won't see a unicorn there. We may see a terrible monster with toes growing out of the tufts of his hair. We may see the sweet little biddy bright hen, so playful, so kind and well-bred, and such beautiful eggs you just boil and then they explode and they blow off your head. A new ananosaurus, surely you'll see, and what enormous and horrible gnat, who stings when it stings, you goes in at all the knee and comes out through the top of your hat. That's a funny one. We may even get lost and be frozen by frost. We may die in an earthquake or tremor. Or nastier still, we may even be tossed on the horns of a furious dilemma. But who cares? Let us go from this horrible hill. Let us roll, let us bowl, let us plunge. Let's go rolling and bowling and spinning until we're away from old Spiker and Sponge. 1 second later, slowly, insidiously, almost gently, the great peach started to lean forward and still into motion. The whole room began to tilt over and all the furniture went sliding across the floor and crashed against the far wall. So did James and the ladybird and the old green grasshopper and Miss Spider and the earthworm and also the centipede who had just come slithering quickly down the wall. So what's happening? Tell the person next to you or tell yourself what's just happened in the book. I'm going to have a quick read of some of the comments. Hi guys, sorry if your screens are a bit blurry. I think it might just be your connection because I've got my friends watching and it's fine on their computers. So maybe if you refresh the screen, that might be a little bit better. Try refreshing the screen. Right, let's carry on. Let's carry on. We are now on chapter 15. This is our last chapter for today. Outside in the garden, at that very moment, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker, I was wondering where they were, had just taken their places at the front gate, each with a bunch of tickets in her hand, and the first stream of early morning sightseers were visible in the distance climbing up the hill to view the peach. We shall make a fortune today, Aunt Spiker was saying. Just look at all those people. I wonder what became of the horrid little boy of ours last night, Aunt Sponge said. He never did come back in, did he? He probably fell down in the dark and broke his leg, Aunt Spiker said. Or his neck, maybe, Aunt Sponge said, hopefully. Just wait till I get my hands on him, Aunt Spiker said, waving her cane. He'll never want to stay out all night again by the time I'm finished with him. Good gracious me, what's that awful noise? Both women swung round to look. The noise, of course, had been caused by the giant peach crashing through the fence that surrounded it, and now, gathering speed every second, it came rolling across the garden toward the place where Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker were standing. They gaped, they screamed, they started to run. It is a wonderful book. Super guesses. They panicked. They both got in each other's way. They began pushing and jostling, and each one of them was thinking only about saving herself. Aunt Sponge, the fat one, tripped over a box that she'd brought along to keep the money in and fell flat on her face. Aunt Spiker immediately tripped over Aunt Sponge and came down on top of her. They both laid on the ground, fighting and clawing and yelling and struggling frantically to get up again. But before they could do this, the mighty peach was upon them. There was a crunch, and then there was silence. The peach rolled on, and behind it, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker lay ironed out upon the grass, as flat and thin and lifeless as a couple of paper dolls cut out of a picture book. And that is where we're going to stop. So, yes, the insects are adventurous. What did you think? What did you think about what just happened? Tell me your reactions. What are we thinking about what just happened? Oh my goodness, said Noemi. Yes, I agree. Oh my, yes, it is crazy what's just happened. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. James has got away from his horrible aunties, his despicable aunties. What other words can we use to describe those aunties? Because they are awful. What other words can we use? It is a little bit gruesome, James and William, yeah, but I think that's Roald Dahl for you. Yay, Fergus is happy. Sahara, what are we thinking about the book? Yes, Jack and Ava, you are happy that the aunts have been squashed. I wonder what is going to happen next. Okay, super. So we're going to talk about our task today. And before I get on to my task today, can I just say, just quickly, just a little bit of a reminder, I have never, ever done this virtual teaching before. I've never been on YouTube before. This is all a first time for me. So please just be patient because it is tricky as well. I'm on Instagram and on YouTube, so I'm trying to read your comments. So if I don't say anything about the comments that you make, it doesn't mean that I don't care or haven't wanted to say it. It's because maybe I've missed it, okay? Because other people have been chatting and it's very tricky for me to keep an eye on both chats, okay? So just be mindful of that. Be patient with me, okay? I'm being patient with you. Please be patient with me. I do want to do the best that I can to help you with your learning. So just be patient with me, okay? Thank you so much. Let's see, I've just got a long, well done, Belle. You did a bit of a summary. Okay, so your task for today, I noticed that in this book, there's a lot of speech. There's a lot of speaking, and we haven't done none. Hold on, because I think they've come to collect my bike. Oh no, he's just driven off. There's a lot of speech, okay, in this book, and we haven't done any speech. So I thought today we could practice some speech and we could do some inverted commas. So James has not told his aunts about anything that is happening. He's gone into the peach and he has left with the insects. And that's kind of fine because they haven't been very nice to him. And I don't think they deserve to know where James is. But I was thinking, what if James thought, actually, I should tell them. I should let them know what I'm doing and I should let them know what's going to happen. And I thought maybe we could have a go at writing out how this plays out. If James was to leave the peach that evening and to tell his aunts that he would be going away with the insects in the peach, what do you think their reaction would be? And this is also going to help us to practice our inverted commas, okay? So I've already given away the first answer to my first question. When we are writing speech, what punctuation do we need? Who can remember the name? I've just told you, but see if you can remind me. So, thank you, Kate, and your stepsisters. I think he might be here, the Doberman. Right, what do we call them? Inverted commas. Well done. So, inverted commas. To open your speech, you use, they look like 2 little 6s. And to close your speech, they look like 2 upside. Why is Miss Lopez forgotten? They look like 2 9s. So 6 to open, 9s to close. Okay, those are our inverted commas for our text, for our speech. Okay, when someone is talking, this is direct speech. Okay, and year 5, this is something new for year 3 and year 4. But you know what? You can learn anything as long as it's as long as we're here to help each other. What do we need just before we close speech? What do we always need before we close speech? My class, you should definitely know this. What do we need? Hi, Maisie and Gloria. Right, what do we need? So we've got our inverted commas to open and close speech, but before we close off any speech, we need some sort of punctuation, okay? So it might be a full stop, it might be a comma if you're not finished yet, it might be an exclamation mark if it's something that you're exclaiming, Or it might be, what's our last one? A question mark. Okay? Mom, I'm just going to go and check the door. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Give me 2 seconds. I want you to think of what's the first thing. How is James going to start his chat with his aunties? I just need to go and answer the door. Think about that first sentence. Just coming. Mom, ayudas. Can you atender al señor? Hey, like this. Yeah. Yeah.
Split this one on and this one is there.
Okay, thank you.
Wait on in the evening.
What's that?
Maybe about
Oh, you're gonna come later? Yeah. Alright, fine. So should I see it closed as well? Because it's quite big, I don't have like a big, that big statement to see it closed. Alright, cool, thank you very much. Él no sabía que era tan grande, no tiene espacio. Pero... Yes. I'm back. Sorry, everybody. That is just a little bit of so you can see that this is all real life and I'm still living my life. And he didn't take the bike. He didn't take it because he doesn't have space in his van. Said he'll come back later. Okay, so if we're starting, even before James, before it's because I just read Jack. Before James says anything, let's think of a sentence to say how he walks towards the house. How is he feeling? If he's going to have this very difficult conversation with those aunties, and see if you can use a fronted adverbial like the ones we did the other day. How does he walk? How does he walk to the house? Who can give me a fronted adverbial to start? Well done. Off you go if you're ready to do the writing. Let's have a little think of a fronted adverbial. Reluctantly. I love it. Thank you, Naomi. Reluctantly. Reluctantly, James, what did he do? How does he walk? Let's use a better word than walk. Anxiously, slowly, nervously. What fantastic words. Cautiously, strolled. Would he be strolling? If he's a bit worried, would you say that he's strolling? What else? What other words? That's really good. Good thinking, James. Creaked, slumped, shuffled. I like shuffled. Reluctantly, James shuffled towards the house. Right, who opens the door for him and how do they open it for him? Suddenly, who opens the door? Let's say suddenly. How can we describe one of the aunts? Oh, fantastic, Eleonora. Good thinking. Quickly, well done, Camille. Aunt Sponge. How could we describe her? How could we describe her? What's the word to describe her? Malicious. The two malicious aunts appeared at the door. Fantastic. I love it, Gigi and Milo. Suddenly, the two malicious aunts appeared at the door. And this is where you can start your speech, okay? And a big thing to remember, and I'm going to be looking out for if you send me your work, is new speaker, new line. Well done. New speaker, new line. New speaker, new line, okay? So let me read those fantastic sentences that you've just written, and this could be your starter for your writing, okay? Reluctantly, James shuffled towards the house. Suddenly, the two malicious aunts appeared at the door. Let's think of one thing that James might say. How might he start the conversation? What could he say? He's very nervous, remember? James is very timid. He's as timid as a mouse, remember those similes? What might he say? Well done, Leon, new speaker, new line. Everyone, new speaker, new line, fantastic. Hello. Okay, he might say, I have something to tell you. And because you're going to say how he said it, we're going to put a comma and then close our speech marks. Okay? Yeah? How did he say it? What could we say? How does he say it? There is something I need to tell you. Well done, Noemi. I have something imperative to tell you. Well done, Gigi and Milo. Oh, Aoife, what a fantastic sentence. I love it. You can use that in your writing. Mumbled, fantastic. Mumbled. James. And I'm going to stop us there because I'm going to let you finish this off. I'm going to read this quickly before you go, and then I'm going to post this on Instagram to help you with your writing. Right, let me read this one more time, and I'm so proud of all your fantastic ideas. Thank you for everyone who has joined in this morning. Reluctantly, James shuffled towards the house. Suddenly, the two malicious aunts appeared at the door. I have something to tell you, mumbled James. I wonder how they're going to answer. I am so proud of all of your work today. Well done, all of you. So you are going to be writing the very tricky conversation that James is going to have with his aunts, okay? And I also want to hear maybe some predictions that you don't have to write down. Maybe you can just message some of your predictions for what might happen next. Nervously. Bye. Right, I'm going to go now, and you are going to go and you're going to finish this task, and thank you so much for watching. If you're watching back at school, hello, and hopefully I will see you soon. I'm probably on the rota for next week, okay? And I'm sending lots of love, lots of positive energy. Remember, stay home, stay safe, and look after your, whoever is looking after you, please look after them for me. Okay, I'm sending lots of love. And today we said good morning in Greek, just quickly before you go. We said kalimera. So if you want to say kalimera, you can say kalimera. Right, lots of love, everybody. Have a lovely rest of the day. If you'd like to tune in at 3 o'clock, I'm doing some mindfulness and yoga. If not, I will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock or at 10 o'clock for early story time. See you tomorrow.